Wonder Woman was a great movie. Everybody seemed to love it. Why is Captain Marvel getting bad reviews? I'll tell you why. It's a mixed movie. It's not good. I thought it was terrible. Like a 4 out of 10, so it's not like the worst of the worst. There were some good moments in it. Don't get me wrong. But for the most part, it was bland. It was just bad. Formulaic, jumpy. There were plot holes. It didn't make sense. It retconned the MCU. It's more than just the marketing for me. It's more than just, Brie Larson's demeanor outside of the outside. It's all of these things together combined with the fact they're shoehorning in these politics that are retconning the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Chris Evans is also a dick. Mark Ruffalo is also a dick. They're mean people on Twitter. They're allowed to be mean. And I think they should get some criticism for being mean people, just like Brie Larson does. I can separate the art from the artist, but combine all of these things and then give me a mediocre to bad film, you're going to get bad ratings. Well, Rotten Tomato moles further tightening user guidelines to combat trolls. That's right. You're a troll if you don't like the movie. I gave the movie a bad rating. I went on Rotten Tomatoes and I wrote out this huge thing about why I didn't like it. My criticism is sincere. Apparently not. Let's do something real quick, all right? Actually, let me read this first. A person may be asked to verify that he or she has seen the film in question before being allowed to post an audience review. That's not going to change anything. People will just claim they saw the movie. Now, look, are there people who haven't seen the movie who gave it bad reviews? Of course there are. There are probably people who haven't seen the movie who gave it good reviews, too. CBR reported that there was a troll campaign to smear the movie because they saw one person tweet. Could it be, dare I say it, that people just don't like you, your marketing, or your movie? Again, it's silly to review a movie you didn't see because you hate it so much. You hate the marketing. But perhaps people just don't like your movie. This, first, Rotten Tomatoes is trash. I'll tell you why it's trash. 79% tomato meter doesn't mean the movie got a 7.9 out of 10. It means that you could have 406 reviews and 204 of them are positive, and they're going to give it a 51%. Like, oh, okay, overwhelmingly positive. If half, so right now it's got a 79%. It could be that all of the reviews are 51% people saying like, man, this movie was kind of bad, but meh. And then the other half are like, wow, it was terrible, and they'll rate it a 79. The audience score is rather different. This is the percentage of people who have given it 3.5 stars or higher, so that's pretty definitive. But I have seen critic reviews that were negative rated positive and positive rated negative. This is worthless. I'll tell you what's a little better. Metacritic, which shows 64, which is the same for the audience score as of right now. And I think that's much more fair. A 6.4. It's not a movie you're going to see twice. You see it once and you go like, the beginning was awful, seriously awful. And the only reason I give this movie a 4 out of 10 is because closer to the end, things started to get a little better. The action sequence I thought were actually pretty good. I thought the story was jumpy, but I did like, there was a lot of on-the-nose politics. The plot was jumpy. Her powers weren't explained. I felt nothing. There were no stakes. There was no one she loved. There was nothing she was fighting for. And I'm just like, so she's literally invincible in the entire movie. There's like, spoilers. When she punches that spaceship and it explodes, I'm like, she's been invincible the whole movie. I don't care. There's no risk. Thor in Infinity War went in between the eye of that, thing and pulled the levers and got blasted by the full force of a dying star that he knew could kill him. And the only reason he survived is because Stormbreaker, apparently granted him some kind of like powers or something. They don't really explain that either. I thought that was kind of silly, but at least you feel like, oh man, Thor just risked his life. So here's the point, because we're not done. The point of this video is not for me to talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's to talk about the absurdity that is the selective outrage of the social justice crowd when it comes to movies. Is it a bunch of sexist, misogynist trolls that don't like Captain Marvel bombing the movie? No, it's just people who don't like your movie because there are a ton of epic female protagonists that have been around for a long time. Everybody loved The Hunger Games. Everybody loved Wonder Woman. Resident Evil, which I thought were still relatively bad movies. No one had a problem with Mia Jovovich, is that how I pronounce it? But now, let's bring out the big guns. The big guns, that is, Tyler Perry's A Medea Family Funeral got 13% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 25% audience score. Almost no user ratings. But can I ask a question here? Why is it that when Tyler Perry does this movie, they don't say white supremacists are giving bad ratings to this movie. The only reason anyone doesn't like Tyler Perry's A Medea Family Funeral is because they're racists. There's no narrative there. Maybe it's because it's just a stupid movie and nobody liked it. Now, admittedly, there's much, much less user ratings, but at the same time, Tyler Perry is not the blockbuster that Captain Marvel was expected to be. When people show up and start giving this movie a bad rating, where's everybody? Where's CBR writing a troll campaign against Tyler Perry's new movie? Where's the narrative of the racists who hate the movie? It doesn't exist. Even when Captain Marvel is positive and doing well, and there's an even a tiny hint of criticism, people saying, I do not like how they're marketing this. The movie is not that good. Brie Larson is unlikable. Even when there's that, and the movie is still rated marginally positive, they claim it's harassment from misogynist trolls who are trying to destroy the movie. How about some people just don't like your movie? Most people kind of thought it was and some people really liked it. Again, Metacritic. 23 mixed ratings, 1 negative and 31 positive. So it's mostly kind of meh, because even when you look at the positive, you do have a lot of, in the 60s, which is still a relatively meh. And your overall rating from the critics on Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes is meh. I'm not seeing, Vox come out and say that racists are review bombing Medea's Family Funeral. I wonder why. But now, Rotten Tomatoes wants to further tighten controls, which will literally do nothing because of the narrative pushed by activists who work in media. They say, amid a deluge of negative posts about the female-led Captain Marvel, Rotten Tomatoes said it would no longer let users say whether they want to see a movie until it begins playing in theaters. Online trolls exacted their revenge by flooding the website with thousands of audience reviews, trashing the superhero pick once it opened March 8th. I was one of those people. I am not a troll. I am a legitimate personality who critiques various cultural things and has a political, news and commentary show on YouTube with a decent amount of success. Does my opinion not count? When I make a video okay, listen, you look at the quartering, you look at my channel, you look at Computing Forever, I would say that I have been the most tepid in terms of criticism for the movie and Brie Larson, and even to an extent, a bit defensive of Brie's commentary, pointing out that Chris Evans, in my opinion, is way more toxic, and so is Mark Ruffalo. But it's the combination of these things. However, the point I'm bringing up, when you watch the videos by those two other channels, and I'm bringing it up because those are the other channels that I watch sometimes. I watch the quartering stuff way more than Dave. No offense, Dave. I think it's just because YouTube suggests it. But one thing that's been very, very clear from our channels, and we have a decent amount of views on these videos, is that typically we thought the movie would probably be mediocre. We thought that it would probably make a decent amount of money. The reason we thought it would be, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but my general understanding is Jeremy with the quartering was like, it's probably going to be fine. Marvel does a good job. They tend to figure out how to make these movies work. And that was my opinion. Marvel hasn't let us down yet. As much as the critics really hated Thor the Dark World, I actually pretty much liked it. I thought this was pretty bad. I give it a 4 out of 10. But it was not Ghostbusters. It was not The Last Jedi. I did not want to get up and walk out of the theater. The reason I give it a 4 out of 10 and not a 5 out of 10. So here's the thing. If they got rid of the on-the-nose politics, like when a guy on a motorcycle pulls up and says, why don't you smile more? Those were cringy moments where I was like, dude, that is not necessary. Okay? Wonder Woman didn't do any of that. She had that badass scene where she's like in the field holding the shield and that was awesome. That was so awesome. And then I liked when she ran and then jumped and then smashed through the brick wall and I don't know, Wonder Woman was awesome. Captain Marvel was like, the way I would describe Captain Marvel, and the reason I give it a 4 out of 10, it's like a sci-fi made-for-TV movie. They're not bad movies. I'm not trying to rag on sci-fi. But when I turn on Sci-Fi Channel and I watch these made-for-TV or made-for-cable movies, I know what I'm getting into. And I can sit there half on my phone, half watching TV and be like, yeah, whatever. It's all right movie. That's how I felt about Captain Marvel. Take that, tell me it's a blockbuster, shoehorn it into the MCU, retcon the MCU, and then I'm going to be like, I don't like this. Put some on-the-nose politics in it, and we got a Sharknado situation. Seriously, when the guy on the motorcycle told her to smile more, I was like, oh my God. I'll tell you what it felt like. It felt like someone made a B version of a Marvel movie, a fan fiction, and they forced it actually into the MCU. So here's the main point, okay, the reason why I did this video, because my God, I do not want to be talking about this anymore. But the news won't die. Rotten Tomatoes wants to tighten its controls because they're upset people didn't like your movie. Listen, if people don't like your movie, what are you going to do about it? How come they're not announcing they're tightening their controls because of Tyler Perry's Madea family funeral got negative reviews? It's absolutely absurd. The movie is popular. I want to talk about something I call the scaling problem, okay? Let's say you have 100 iPhones. 1% of those iPhones break. Let's say 100 celebrities get iPhones. 1% of those phones break. That's one phone. Nobody cares. What's going to happen? You're going to have 99 celebrities saying great phone and one celebrity saying mine broke, and people are going to be like, yeah, sometimes phones break. Let's say you have 100 million iPhones shipped out around the world. 1% of the phones break, the same margin of error. But now you have 1 million people screaming their phones are broken, and everyone gets scared and says, holy crap, 1 million broken phones? Something's wrong with these phones. It's the same margin of error. But because you have a larger amount, it is more likely that people hear things are bad. Let's compare this to Captain Marvel and Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry is not a blockbuster, was not expected to make hundreds of millions of dollars and be $1 billion, movie leading up to a major, major culmination of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's just another Tyler Perry sequel. So what happens? Captain Marvel ends up getting 64,000 user ratings. Because of that, let's say 1%, 640 or 10%, 6,000 are, well, it's actually a bit more than that. 38% didn't like it. But 38% of 64,000, I'm not going to do the quick math, but you've got almost half, a little bit less than half, a decent amount less, a third, that's a better number, saying they didn't like it, and this is in the tens of thousands. Now you have tens of thousands of people saying I don't like your movie. Because the movie was so big, they shriek, why do tens of thousands of people not like my movie? They must be trolls. They must be misogynists. But when you look at Tyler Perry, and it only has 333 user ratings, so it was not that big, and 75% didn't like it, it doesn't sound like that big of a problem. This is what's one of the issues that we're dealing with when it comes to cultural issues. Now they're going to tighten controls over a movie that did really well. How does this make sense? How does it make sense that Rotten Tomatoes is like, we better change the rules of our website because Captain Marvel was reviewed rather decently? I can only surmise that it's because these activist websites were posting complete bullshit, claiming that one user on Twitter was apparently enough to claim there was an organized campaign to smear Captain Marvel. How about I can explain it for the millionth time? I didn't like your movie. I'll leave it there. I got another video coming up at 1 p.m. and I will see you then.